a month in support of student union. So I don't think you can say that actually these politicians were reflective of where most students were at. They supported their student union and came out on the streets to show it.
Okay, now, James, in the wake of VSU, is the union still relevant to Swinburne students?
I think it can be. I mean, if you look at other universities, other student unions are still relevant. Other student unions still have funding from the university. The difference at Swinburne is the group that was in charge of the union at the time that VSU was brought in was so confrontational with the university. I've actually been told by people in the SSAA, SSAA was not originally formed to take over services. It was formed to look at alternative funding arrangements. And the people that were running SSU at the time were so confrontational and not willing to work with the university and SSAA. I mean, that's the reason that they don't provide services anymore. So I think obviously I agree with what Liz says about the union being independent. Look, it is a political body, but we think it's important to concentrate on political issues that directly affect students, not wars in Palestine. We don't think that legalising same-sex marriage is going to translate to changing homophobia here on the ground. We just don't think that's the case.
Okay, Liz, now you're nodding your head there. Now, same question applies to you, yes. Is the union still relevant to Swinburne students? Other than, now irrespective of, political agendas and political movements, is the union as a body still relevant to students?
Well, I think the student union this year has been relevant to students. Mm-hmm. It's been relevant to the international students. It's been relevant to gay and lesbian students. It's been relevant to Arab and Muslim students by taking up the questions that concern them. So yes, the student union has been relevant to students. I think one of the issues about student unionism has been, since the introduction of VSU, we have seen a real decline in student union and student involvement in social movement questions. And that's something we want to see turned around, because I do think that the questions of same-sex marriage impact on students here at Swinburne University. When we've got a government actually going out there and banning same-sex marriage. When we've got a government saying that gay and lesbian couples are less equal, not as natural, shouldn't be accorded the same rights, what message does this send to gay and lesbian youth here at Swinburne? And we have a situation where gay and lesbian youth are 4 times more likely to self-harm and attempt suicide because of the weight of homophobia. If our student union doesn't take up these questions, just as James said it shouldn't, we're committed to taking up these questions to send a signal that we're not homophobic, we support their rights, and we're going to keep on campaigning for their rights too.
Okay, well, expanding on that, your ticket student voice has come under scrutiny for being politically motivated, as we've established. What do you say to claims that the current student union's out of touch with students and what students are, about?
Well, if you'd looked at opinion polls recently, 74% of young people support same-sex marriage. So if you want to reflect public opinion, then the student union should take up this question. We've seen the biggest demonstration for decades for gay rights this year, something that the Swinburne Student Union was a part of organising. 5,000 young people, mostly university students, came out onto the streets on August 1 in support of same-sex marriage. So, yeah, we are reflective of student opinion. Students aren't right-wing idiots. They have some decent attitudes,
Okay, well, calling students idiots might not get you that many votes. Look,
I said they're not. That's the thing.
No, okay,
yeah.
Sorry. There's no debate that student voice discusses relevant issues to students or issues that students are concerned about, as you said. But what have you actually done as a union for students around campus? Have you been? You said that the SSAA have been dealing with events and that sort of thing. Now I know, for one, that the Change Party have said that they want to start doing some more events and take that sort of thing into account. Do you plan on doing anything along those lines? Do you plan on?
We support campus life, campus culture, all those sort of things. But I think that one of the biggest barriers to students being able to fully enjoy campus life and campus culture is the fact that youth allowance is below the poverty line, the fact that 43% of students live in poverty, that this is something that is a prohibitive barrier to students actually getting involved. It means that they have to work over 25 hours generally in paid work to just survive as a student. These things make it difficult for students to be involved in campus life. So I think the political questions of youth allowance, of, you know, rights to transport concession cards. All of these questions impact materially on students. They're not irrelevant at all.
Sure, but and I agree with you on the youth allowance front. It is
yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah, it is.
I agree with that completely.
Exactly. I think we all agree with that. But the thing that affects me is that the union and the SSAA should be providing the campus life that doesn't cost the students any money to begin with.
That's why, like, SSAA actually get funded by the university $4 million. We don't think that it would be wise spending of the student union money to replicate what SSAA already spends with the university's money.
But you think it is wise to support the war, like freeing Palestine and gay marriage and stuff like that? That's
absolutely. I think that this is very important that the student union maintains this role. It's not unusual for unions to do this. The trade union in Victoria endorsed the Palestine rallies that the Swinburne Student Union have helped to organise.
Sure.
As have unions across the country.
Sure,
so we would be
that's understandable.
Stepping outside of what the tradition is if you say that the student union should just be about, like, beer, which is, you know, I think we've got enough of that, really.
Okay, sure. Just one last question. You said that your party was relevant to homosexual students, Indian students, Arab students. You reeled off a whole heap. What about the vast majority of students at Swinburne, which is white, Anglo-Saxon and heterosexual? I don't see the Student Voice Party standing up for those people.
Well, unless you think heterosexual people are all homophobes.
I'm not saying that at all. No. What I'm saying is
yeah, we don't represent the homophobes. That's true.
No, well, and I don't think anyone in their right mind does. But are you doing anything to represent these white Anglo-Saxon students and their rights as people at this university?
Well, as I said, 43% of students live below the poverty line. So yes, we are doing things in support of domestic students. But I think domestic students also have a social conscience. I think domestic students care about social justice. And so, yeah, that is why 74%, as I said, of young people support same-sex marriage. They're not all gay. They're not all lesbians. There's people who support, you know, the basic equal rights. And I think that if we had a bit of confidence in young people and said, actually, yes, young people do have left-wing attitudes, then people wouldn't be asking these questions about all domestic white Anglo beefheads are what exist on campus.
Sure.
Actually, people have, you know, political attitudes themselves.